A viewer has asked what percentage of self-defense incidents actually go to trial, and do you really want to go to trial even if you're innocent? And you have a slam dunk case, that's a misnomer in and of itself. Here to help us answer these questions about whether or not we want to go to trial, noted criminal defense attorney Tom Grieve, and your former state prosecutor as well, so you're seeing this from both sides. Before we get into this, let me tell you we have a gun giveaway going on. It's happening right now. You can enter for free, but it ends really soon. So click the link in the description down below to see which brand new gun you could win. Lots of stuff swirling around this, and some people might be asking how much does it cost to go to trial and so forth and so on. But is it wise to go to trial? I mean, there's going to be people out there who are absolutely adamant that they did the right thing and the evidence is on their side. Should they go to trial or should they take the deal? And I'm going to start with, what does it depend on? Because you're going to say it depends. It depends. But what does it depend on? How do you make that choice whether or not I'm going to go to trial or I'm going to take the deal?
Couple different things. One is, do you think you can beat the deal at trial, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes we may have a client who's charged with 5 different things, and it's yeah, you're going to get convicted on these 2. If they're offering to let you to plead to those 2 and everything else goes away, then it's well, what are we really playing for at that point, right? Mm-hmm. But those are the minority of cases. Let's kind of focus big picture what most people are probably watching this for. A client's risk aversion is going to be a huge factor. Mm-hmm. Now, unlike what you've seen in Hollywood and media where every single case goes to trial, all right, in real life, depending upon your jurisdiction, it's going to be closer to about 2 to maybe 3%. 4% is a pretty litigious high trial percentage, all right? Mm-hmm. Very few cases go to trial. That doesn't mean that they aren't being fought, but that's maybe a subject for another video. So if we have a client who is insisting that, you know what, I'm innocent. I did what they said, but not the way they're saying it, or whatever the case may be. First off, it's always the client's choice, 100% of the time, to decide whether or not they're going to go to trial or not. That is not something that's appropriate for the attorney to somehow try to force or coerce or lead them into. Mm-hmm. My view is that it's our job as an attorney, as an advocate, as a counselor, saying, look, here's the pros and cons and the risks and benefits of A versus B versus C. What do you want to do? And let's talk through it. So you can see, we can try to project and figure out where these roads end. And
give them an idea what could happen.
Absolutely.
This could happen to you if you do whatever that is.
A trial can be extraordinarily unpredictable. People come in, they'll say something never identical to what they wrote down in a statement. It'll sometimes closely resemble it, but there's a lot of variables, who's on that jury, how do these different people testify, if you've got a judge you don't know particularly well or you've never tried cases in front of, are they going to really kind of insert themselves into the trial as a larger player? Who's this prosecutor? What are their tendencies? Are they going to go off the rails? Are they an effective trial attorney? Are they a weak trial attorney? So again, we don't have time to break all those down right here, but just understand that there's a lot of variables that go simply beyond the facts of the case. There's the facts of the case, and then there's the context and the procedural and the mechanics that surround it, which can absolutely have a bearing onto that question. But again, let's just keep bringing this back to the client. The client's risk aversion is going to be a major factor. Here's why. Let's say we tell the client, you know what, I think you've got a 3/4 chance, a 75% chance of winning this trial, which for a criminal defense attorney to do that either means they don't know what they're talking about or they are very confident that they can win this, because that's a super high, 75, 90%, whatever, chance of winning. Okay, if we win the trial, everything's going to go away. If you lose, you're going to go to prison for 10 years as a likely outcome. If you've got a client who's married with kids, they've got a job and so forth, and you're weighing, okay, so I've got a 20 to 25% chance of going to prison for 10 years, or what's that deal again? Oh, I can plead to some misdemeanors, do 30 days jail, and life moves on. Or, hypothetically, right? Yeah. If you've got a client who is super risk adverse and they're not willing to risk their family, their business, their job, their whatever it is, I understand why they will accept the deal. Mm-hmm. And look, for people who are clicking away on their keyboards right now saying, I would never do that, that's great.
Yeah.
Wait until you're in those circumstances, then you'll see exactly what you'll do. And it's not my job to lean on them to take the case to trial, just like it's not my job to lean on them to say, don't take a case to trial. I just try to be as transparent and as forthright as possible to say, here's what I think you got. Here's what your options are. What do you want to do? Let's talk this through.
And it might not be right in your eyes or morally right. You know, I did the right thing. I saved my wife from an attacker. But, you know, this is the law, and the law is complex and can end up going lots of different directions. And maybe we'll put this out there just because it was part of the question, what does it cost? Going to trial adds more cost than taking the deal and settling outside of trial, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Significantly more. Often, I mean, maybe even 6 figures more, depending upon the nature of the case, how long the trial will run, all those different factors. You may have to hire experts that without that, maybe you were able to stall on that decision or whatever the case may be.
And certainly you can avoid all of this if you avoid the fight, if you're not involved, you know, if you make the tactical decision to not get involved in the fight, that's going to be the best way. But if it gets to the point where you're involved in a self-defense incident and the prosecutor now has gathered all the reports and gotten all the statements and put everything together and comes to you with an offer, I'm assuming that prosecutor is pretty confident that he or she has what he or she needs to make this case move forward.
Oh, sweet summer child. Maybe. I mean, look, prosecutors are people.
Yeah.
You know, they're not perfect. They have different philosophies and viewpoints on prosecution. You know, it's no secret that some prosecutors believe that if they can overcharge a case, establish as much leverage as possible, that puts them in the driver's seat from a plea settlement negotiation standpoint. It very well might. Yeah. That's why you need a good defense attorney. It could be that you have a highly ethical prosecutor who is going to resist those temptations that their discretion in their position afford them, and they will honestly try to sift through the evidence in the search for truth, and they will make an offer that they genuinely believe, given the context of the case, the context of you as the defendant, as well as, you know what, here's how this case ought to resolve, and if there's comparable cases, here's how they have resolved. Okay. And there's many other different types of prosecutors, to be clear, right? But I'll pick those two out, right? Yeah, if you've got the prosecutor who isn't overcharging the case and they believe this is what I think I can prove at trial, therefore this is what I have charged, and here's what I think is an appropriate outcome, absolutely is that going to move the needle on should you take the case to trial or not. As opposed to you get the person who's overcharged and they're out there on a limb and okay, different situation now perhaps, where maybe the prosecutor has forced you to take the case to trial by essence.
And I think this just comes back around to anyone who is carrying a gun for self-defense. Understand your laws, get training, and do the right thing. And those last two go hand in hand. The more training you get, the more opportunity you have to do the right thing, because the more you understand what could potentially happen to you. First of all, you might not win the fight. And then the aftermath, the court fight, could go on forever.
Yeah, you've got the two encounters, right? You've got the physical encounter of surviving the fight, and then secondarily, but arguably almost as importantly, you've got the legal encounter, whether that's criminally or civilly. Criminally, where you're looking at a lot of money as far as fines, potentially the rest of your life in prison, and Lord knows what else. I mean, we touched on attorney's fees and expert fees and the damage that merely being charged and being in the public eye can do to your family, your reputation, your career, the career of your spouse, all that kind of stuff, right? But then there's also the civil side of it when the decedent, the person you shot who was trying to kill you, when their family sues you and invariably says, Timmy would never have done this. This whole thing's out of character. He's a good boy. He's had some problems, but he's a good boy, right? How many times have we unfortunately seen that play itself out? Yeah. But that's going to be part of the ride for all this. A common thing that I hear from clients who have had to use in one way, shape, or form or another their firearm in self-defense at the end of the case is, if I knew how bad this was, I would have done something more to have avoided being here in the criminal justice system. Yeah. It will beat you up. It will spit you out. You can beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again for your insight, Tom. Always great. Always a great help. Folks, thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video. Quick reminder again, we have that gun giveaway going on. Click the link in the description to learn more. I'm Kevin Michalowski. If you enjoy guns, freedom, and everything about concealed carry, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. We'll see you in the next video. Stay safe.